I ain't get to roll no weed, I ain't get to roll no swishes. I was locked up on Christmas. I ain't get to see my brothers. I ain't get to hug my mama. Couldn't even give her no kisses. Can't even post on my Instagram, cause these pussy fellas be snitching. Everybody acting suspicious. Might probably say that I'm tripping. When I'm all alone in my jail cell, I tend to get in my feelings. And all I smoke is that loud. Don't pass me no midget. And I'ma smoke all of my pain away, cause that's the only thing that gon' heal it. I don't understand these women who go around pretending as if they really fuck with me. So I love them all from a distance, cause the same bitch say she down the ride, be the main one who trickin'. Got Molly mixed with promethazine beat, cause every time I wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-47, Mac 11, Glocks and 9s, and all these pussy fellas hating, tryna knock me off my grind. But I can't let them do it. I got murder on my mind. Bitch, I got murder on my mind. 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 Oh, I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind. I got murder on my mind. Oh, yellow tape around his body. It's a fucking homicide. His face is on a t-shirt. And his family traumatized. I didn't even mean to shoot him. He just caught me by surprise. I reloaded my pistol, cocked it back and shot him twice. His body dropped down to the floor and he got teardrops in his eyes. He grabbed me by my hands and said he was afraid to die. I told him it's too late, my friend, it's time to say goodbye. And he died inside my arms. Blood all on my shirt, wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control. Late night in Moscow, where nothing ever happens. Night glancing in the moonlight, no escape. White night, Hyundai lurking, knife in the door.
Paranoid searches for a full vision ride. Under surveillance, nowhere to hide. Influence creeps like blood on the floor. Fine line between peace and war. From campus to crypt, the script looks tragic, mystic and twisted. Magic turn manic. Walk through lingers, but the echo remain. Chains of the slain in eternal pain.
And here we go. Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
Good morning, everybody. If it's still considered the morning, it's 11 a.m. where I'm at. Welcome to the War Room. This is the Hive on Saturdays, select Saturdays, where the chat is going to be shut down for members only. So thank you to everybody who does choose to support this stream financially. That is in the chat right now. I appreciate it. If this is your first time tuning in and you've stumbled across this live, I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. And then, as I was just saying, on Saturdays, I do these War Rooms where it's essentially a live dig into the new documents of the Idaho 4 case, a recap on what we discussed this last week, and then a look into what we will be discussing in the upcoming week. And so the chat's a little bit smaller. Sometimes the 7 p.m. streams, the chats get a little chaotic as far as what I can see and what I can't. And so Saturdays really give me a chance to see all of the messages, which I really enjoy, and I hope you all do too. All right, I got the audio coming in loud and clear. How's everybody doing today? Gabby Girl, One Can Leanne, UFO Dog, Oceans 1111, Luna Bliss, the UFO. Oh, I already said that. Crazy Bird Lady said, love a war room. Let's go. I guess I don't need this banner on anymore. Got a little bit worried when Algar, or he didn't even know how to say his own name last night. If you listen to the college show, started coming up here and showed us that chart. And he was like, well, yeah, the colored lines, they all connect. And I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying I'm genuinely colorblind. I am no help to you, sir. I cannot help you at all. What's going on? Curriculum and Crime said, love a war room. Philly Girl is fully rested. What's going on? UK Karen, Jesse Ray, Debs, Crime Junkie 72. Good to see you. Birdie BB23 said, hey, Birdie and Hive. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm so glad it's Saturday. Amen to that. High knee titties. Pretty much good. Sleuther Dare, great to see you. Chaos and Christina, you as well. Thanks for tuning in. Savvy Rooster, good morning. Growth Redacted. Tripsy Turvy said, howdy ho, Birdie. Happy Saturday. Carrie Graham, don't drink chunky milk, said, got to get that cheddar for the bacon, baby. Birdie. Love it. Riley Church, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, to kick off the war room, it's my late fiance Eric's birthday. He would have been 37 today. YNW Melly was one of his favorite artists. I said, I hope you play the Melly cover as the opener song. You did. I know it was a sign. Holy hell. That's crazy, Riley, because I was about to click live and I missed. And I said, oh, shoot, I never changed the song from what I used from last night. That is so weird. I mean, it's powerful. And I was scrolling through. I'm like, oh, I haven't played this one in a while. Wow. Whew. That is crazy. Well, happy birthday to Eric. And prayers to you, Riley. I'm so sorry about that, but happy heavenly birthday to Eric. Thank you for the super chat. That's so crazy. Stuff like that happens, I think, kind of a lot in here. Have you guys noticed that? I don't know if we're all just connected in some way, shape, or another, but that's so crazy. What's going on? Polar Life Force. Who else do we got? Teary Dawn. Love those little signs in life. Me too. Shawley Redacted said, Mr. Birdie, our special agent. Goat. What's up, Shawley? Is Mr. Shawley there with you? What's going on? Redact my student loads. I think I already said what's up to that person. Yeah, that's crazy, Riley. So let's get into it, shall we? As I said, these war rooms, it's a lot less presentation, a lot more collaboration, but I would appreciate it if all of you in here did just quickly go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe. I know a lot of people are always like, why does it matter if we hit like or if we hit subscribe? Those are both free to do. Obviously, today, if you're chatting, it's because you are in Hive Plus, so you get the emojis, you get the loyalty badge, and then obviously you get access to this chat today. But hitting like and hitting subscribe is what helps this channel push this message out to people that haven't seen it before. Okay, so it's super easy. It's super simple. And I don't know if sometimes people get confused about that or if they're just like, I don't really care. I'm not going to hit it, which is fine too. But I want people to understand that when we're saying that, it's really not for there, or there's no monetary obligation to that. It's just hitting like, hitting subscribe. The mods will be dropping the Hive Plus link. So if anybody is watching right now and sees this pop in, they should still be able to click this link. Thank you to the UFO Dog for gifting a Hive Plus membership. I love another Haven't said, I thought we'd get a weekend at Birdie's. Crime Junkie 72 said, hey, Birdie, are you and JJ going to do a collaboration once a month? We've been doing, we kind of went back-to-back weeks, maybe back-to-back weeks. However, I think I'm going to alternate Wednesdays. That's what I would plan. And then kind of the same thing with Sammy T. I know Sammy T hasn't been on in a while, but I'm thinking every other Thursday for every other Wednesday for JJ. And then it's kind of naturally fallen into the rhythm of every other Thursday with Sammy T as well. And so maybe I can alternate them. So we have a guest. We have one of them on, but those two are great. Definitely both of them bring great perspective and great points. I know Sammy is knee deep in the Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson hearing right now, which I don't know if anybody else is following that, but man, lots of twists and turns in that. And from what I've seen on it, there just seems to be a lot of just things that they don't look right. And it depends on who you listen to about it, which perfectly sums up this case. And it almost seems as if that's the only way how these big headline cases are going to go these days, is it just depends on who you listen to about it. And it completely shapes and forms your opinion. It's powerful. Twisted Timo's following it. Crime Junkie said, I feel sorry for the judge, sadly. It's the trauma. Thanks, Mom said the bullet didn't match. One can Leanne said, that's crazy. Sluther Dare said, love the conversations around both. Les is following the preliminary trial. Thierry Don said, I like JJ. He's interesting. It's awesome to watch you two. I really enjoyed you and Harsh as well. That was a great one. Yeah, Harsh will be in here the first week of August, which I'm super excited about to have him over here into the Hive. Chaos and Christina said, I see so many parallels between this case and that one. It's crazy. I agree. I feel like Candace would probably fit right in. Whenever I talk about Candace Owens, the thing that I find, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to just say the word cool about the way that she'll talk about cases, but how I talked about with like the court documents is it just seems the way that it's investigated is going directly to the people and directly to the sources. And especially in this Charlie Kirk case, like whatever the official statements are or the documents, like there was holes poked in it by a lot of people. And then she just went and kind of got right to the sources, Charlie's team, the people behind the scenes, what was actually seen on camera. And look at how pivotal that approach was to changing the narrative around the case or around the situation. And I just really feel like that's what it's going to take in this case, which, by the way, after this at 3 p.m. today, I did finish the quick cut for Jeff Jellison, just speaking of other cases, not just the Tyler Robinson and Charlie Kirk case, but this case as well at Fox Hollow. So that'll be up today at 3 p.m. Central. It's a 25-minute recap of the about 2-hour interview with Jeff Jellison. Thank you, Accomplished Day, for the 5 Hive Plus memberships. And so that'll be at 3 p.m. Central today. Now, I want to preface this because this has nothing to do with LTL Media, but this popped up on my homepage today. And I know LTL Media has posted some body cam clips about the Idaho 4 in the past. So I don't know this guy. I've never really watched much of their stuff outside of the body cam. So this is not hating on LTL Media. This is just leading into the question of the day. And I just think that what happens within the first 15 seconds of this video is the God's honest majority of the conversations surrounding the Idaho 4 case. And you can see here at the bottom, he got a comment that said, Brian, do you believe in any doubt about Brian Koberger? Drives me crazy. Some people online still think he is innocent. Sorry, it's off topic because he was covering a different case. And so anyways, I have that clip pulled up, and that's going to lead into this question of the day, which is what will it take to get the masses to quote unquote shed the official narrative about Brian Koberger, because I would say at a certain point, when does that become an emphasis and when does that become important? If we're only figuring this out on a small scale, it's like pissing into the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, we all feel like we're making a difference, and we are. Don't get me wrong, we are. But if it's not going to get to the majority of people, the masses won't hear it. And not only is it important for justice to be done, but it's important for people to know the truth about this case. Would you all agree with that? It's important that the masses, if a situation changes and a correction is made, whether it's a small scale in a certain news article or it's something massive like this, the masses deserve to be told. Because I would bet there's a lot of people that want to know the truth. They just don't think to go and look for it. Or guess what? Everybody's got a busy life and they don't hear about it. So that's why that's been such an emphasis to me, or an emphasis for me to continue to say, is getting the masses to awaken to what really happened in this case is only going to help it. If the masses don't hear about it, I think that it does get to a point where it continues to hurt it because the messaging is reinforced. Now, again, this has nothing to do. It could be anybody saying this. So I don't want people saying like, oh, Birdie's talking smack about this. No, I'm not. It's a very convenient clip for the question of the day.
Crime. I think there was so much evidence that we were going to hear about that was going to link him to that house. And no, he totally committed the crime. He totally committed the crime. I think there was so much evidence that we were going to hear about that was going to link him to that house and in around that area. Go back and watch my streams about Bluetooth. Go watch the streams about Bluetooth, how we kind of cracked that wide open. I actually had a Bluetooth expert come on my channel and talk about that. And I think that Bluetooth evidence was going to nail him to that house. I think that in and around those 14 or 15 times that he was, kind of scouting out the house, we knew that he drove by 14 or 15 times pre-crime. And I actually think that he either came in close contact with devices in the house by either going up to the house itself or in and around the house. And what we had figured, commercial Bluetooth, 150 feet, which would be pretty close to where that house to the street was. So he might have created what's called a handshake to a Bluetooth device if you had his Bluetooth turned on. And what led us to my speculation about that was there was an interview that Stephen Christie Gonzalez did with, I think, one of the Idaho news organizations out there. And it was about an hour interview. And they had talked about, it had been, a couple of years now, or a year and a half, or a year after Haley's murder, that Moscow police had held on to a lot of items that were in that house that night, specifically a Bluetooth speaker that Kaylee Gonzalez had owned. And my theory was, why would they hang on to that for so long? Well, they probably did a deep forensic dive into that Bluetooth speaker. And, you can see what was logging, in those devices. And just if people don't know, when you have an iPhone or an Android phone and you have Bluetooth turned on, basically what's happening, you can even look in this in your settings, just go to your Bluetooth right now, turn it on and look at the devices that it's trying to connect with right now. Basically what Bluetooth does is it sends out a very low wave radio frequency out to a device that may have Bluetooth capability. And it's trying to do what they call create a handshake, a connection. Hey, do you have Bluetooth? I want to hang out. Let's connect and let's shake hands. Let's connect. And that's what this does. And if you notice, does it a lot with Wi-Fi too. Default setting on Wi-Fi, it's always trying to ping off everybody's Wi-Fi and connect. Well, Bluetooth works in that same way too. And what I think happened is Koberger got either so close to that house or had the balls enough to go up to the back of the house at some point, had his Bluetooth probably turned on, and it made a handshake with Kaylee's device, that Bluetooth speaker. And that's why I think they held on it for so long. And that's what came to my theory. And the funny thing about it, if you go back and you look, and I broke this down in that live stream, if you go back and look in August, just before the 4 students were killed, there was a noise complaint sent out to that house, and there was some body cam footage that had got released. And in the body cam footage, you watch the officer walk up to that backsliding door window and look in, and he goes, "Oh, there's the speaker right there." And I'm wondering if that's Haley's speaker, because it was right inside that slider. And if it was there, maybe the night that Koberger did this, or preemptively was scouting the area, came so close to that speaker and it made a handshake. And that's what I think. And that's my theory on it. And you can go, I think you just type in Idaho 4 on my channel in the search.
So, a couple of things. That was posted 3 hours ago. Okay. Now, look, everybody could probably save their energy and protect their energy on saying how much they disagree with it, because that was not the point on why I was showing that. Do I feel the same way as many of you in the chat, if not everybody in the chat? Of course I do. However, the way to combat this is not to just shit talk people, okay? The way to combat it is to show somebody and have a conversation with them, which they also have to be willing to do, given the documents. And so the fact that this was 3 hours ago, all of those points are on paper, and they are shown to be the exact opposite. Why this sounds very convincing to a lot of people is because of A, what they originally heard, B, how much it was pushed into their head, and C, when you have somebody who has a channel and has had maybe an expert on it and has reported on it, and he's laying out his theory as to why, it's just not updated with any of the additional information. So again, don't get me wrong. I saw Luda say, but shit talking's fun. I agree. It is fun, but it's pointless at times, especially when it's something like this that we've put so much time and effort into getting people to believe it. You're just going to turn people off if you just talk smack the whole time. And so you have to be able to hear people, you have to be able to listen to people, and then you have to be able to show them why they're wrong. And showing somebody and telling somebody why they are wrong are two completely different things. I don't know about you, but whenever in my life I've been told that I've been wrong and not shown why, it is defense. I get defensive. However, if somebody is showing me why I'm wrong, then I'm able to grasp it and change my mind and not act like an egomaniac where it's like, I'm never wrong. My opinion is right. What are you talking about? And it just gets into a pissing match. So again, I show that for the general overarching theme about it. And it was used. And the reason why I showed that was simply just to lead into this question of the day, which is, what do you think it'll take to get the masses to shed the original narrative about Brian Koberger? We obviously can't go around one by one. And we could, we can have conversations with people. Of course, we could have people on the guest, but one of the biggest X factors to that is I would have no problem having somebody either call in or be a guest that has an opposing view on this. However, I am not interested in just having a crash out match. I think I would win, A. But B, it's pointless. I'd rather sit down with somebody who's able to keep their emotions in check, be patient, not talk over me. I can't stand getting interrupted, especially when you're trying to get a point across. And if there's somebody that knows how to stream or do a radio interview type thing, I would love to have them on here and show them it and have them prepare their points and we prepare our points. But yeah, no one's going to out crash out us. There's no way. I mean, we can redline in here. There's no doubt about it. But there comes a time and a place where you have to be able to kind of keep your zen and not let the emotions get the best of you. But let's see what some people are saying. Sluther Dare said there's a difference between debate and belittling. Totally agree. Polar Life Force says, I do like debates too. Lucid Dreaming and Shockface says, we need both sides of true crime debate night. Love that. Best of Me said, Bertie, were you taught patience just within your family, or that's how you are, or did you learn how to be patient because you are so patient? I've learned as I've aged. I think growing up, I was not patient. My mom used to say, you just get this idea. You know, you want to go snowboarding? Everybody's got to drop everything, and then you just got to go snowboarding. And I could like hear her voice in my head. But I think, you know, as I got into like a higher level of athletics in college and then got into my career of selling stuff, I've really learned patience, and I've learned kind of never too high, never too low as far as emotionally. And then I think that just comes with age and quote unquote, you know, maturing a little bit more. But it's not like my parents weren't impatient by any means. I just don't think that it was like patience wasn't necessarily taught. I think it was a self-learned. I'm a self-learned patient person. I know, Shawley, I know. We are overdue for a birdie crash out. Pineapple Diana said, I honestly love that you say we all have to get along and hear each other's opinions like grown-ups, not turn on each other. Lisa Marie says, almost every conversation I've had about this, I just get insulted the whole time. It's nonsense. Cass and Christina said self-awareness and emotional intelligence are valuable things to have. Tara B said, it blows my mind just about everything Bill Thompson screamed in the beginning. He came out right after the plea deal and said none of it was true. How is that even okay? I think it's where people are stuck. True. Blue-Eyed Candy, good to see you, said, yes, debate is good, but it seems like those dead set on Brian Koberger being guilty will die on that hill. True. And it's just kind of understanding. We would probably die on the hill that he's not guilty in a way. However, I also don't want people to think either that there does come a time if you're trying to debate somebody and they're just being an a-hole and disrespecting you. I'm not saying that you should just shut her down like a coward. You know, you got to obviously stand up for yourself, but that's why I think it's so important on who you choose to kind of have represent the other side of your argument. Sammy said, I had a conversation with a guilter the other day, and I'm about 99% sure it was Olivia. Verbiage, perspective, all of it. I'm confident it was her. Thank you for the super chat, Sammy. Do you mean like on a burner account? Yeah, no problem, Besame. It's a good question. True. Cass and Christina said there's dying on a hill and then being willing to listen. Riley said, I love, excuse me. Riley said, I love arguing and definitely have issues with being a little too argumentative, but a lot of times I've realized you got to shelf that and keep it together so people take you more seriously. Yes. 100%. 100%. Pineapple Diana said, it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to be little. Something I sadly learned even right here within this group is people will side with a popular person over facts. I was loving my Hive. Always stay above. Yeah, that's something that I really do try to do. I don't try to get involved in any of that stuff. I obviously see it, but I'm like, okay. Everybody's got opinions about everything. Crazy Bird Lady said, I agree, Birdie, but just like what happened during COVID after screaming into the void for so long, it's easy to get angry and just crash out. I think there's a time and a place to lose your mind. If you get past a certain line in the sand, don't get me wrong. You can't just stay calm forever. Nothing's going to change. Turkey Creek Gal said, shutting down doesn't mean you're a coward. For me, it means taking the high road, not lowering myself to the other person's level. Totally agree. My perspective on taking the high road kind of changed. I had a football coach that used to actually be against taking the high road. It sounds psychotic. It kind of is, but the way that he worded it maybe will resonate with people. Is sometimes people say, well, you just chose to take the high road. And when you hear that, instead of actively choosing to take the high road, really, you're just putting the Band-Aid on, not standing up for yourself. It'll depend on the situation, but a lot of times you'll hear, like if you're talking to your friend and you're explaining a situation and you're like, yeah, I didn't really say anything back. Maybe I should have. And that person tells you, well, you just took the high road. It kind of encourages you to stay little and not speak your mind. Time and a place, obviously, where that applies. But for the most time, I agree, Turkey Creek Gal, that taking the high road will always be the better move. You'll have a lot less scary about it too. So I thought that was an interesting discussion to start off this war room. Now, I do have a handful of Hive Mind finds, so thank you to everybody who's been posting them in the Discord. I was up late last night after the stream getting this ready. And this first one comes from our friend that had called in last night, Hottie JG, I think from, was it Czechoslovakia? One of the Nordic countries. However, they posted this in the Discord, okay? And I want everybody to take a good hard look at this. So this is in some hall at the University of Idaho. And it says drop-in counseling available today, November 14th. Starts at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. One thing that stuck out to me the second that I saw this, and I don't know if this is why Hottie JG posted this, so this is kind of a hybrid Hive Mind find. The Vandal alert came out on a Sunday at 2:07 p.m. Okay, whoever is working is most likely not working. And I just find it so odd that by 8 a.m., there is a sign printed, a rather large sign that is printed with November 14th starting at 8 a.m. Now, I don't know what to make of it. That's a little bit of a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy. If you want to say that it may have happened earlier and they may have had more time to prepare for the in-person drop-in counseling. But it would not be weird if they didn't have November 14th printed on this. So this is just over 15 or 16 hours. And again, it's on a Sunday. So by Monday morning at 8 a.m., somebody already had this printed out. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down with that? Or is that not weird? Because I felt like if I'm thinking about, okay, who's probably making that sign? So they had drop-in counseling ready to go before they even had a public press conference. It's also coming up on Thanksgiving break. And I'm just thinking about whoever, maybe it's a secretary, maybe it's somebody in their, whatever, graphic design department. I don't know. But I don't think that you would be running to FedEx and being able to get this printed out. So I feel like this would have been printed out on site. I'm just trying to say the turnaround time. Vandal alert goes out on November 13th at 2:07 p.m. Apparently, really don't know what happened other than people have died. Rumors are swirling all around campus, and they have drop-in counseling available that next day at 8 a.m. with a printed sign on it with the date. It's not weird considering mental health. It could be unrelated. I guess I never thought about that. That's quite a coincidence, but possible. Okay, so people aren't finding that crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm the crazy one. I guess, yeah. I guess I'm just trying to think like you would think that the campus would just be in chaos, absolute chaos, trying to figure out what the hell happened. We just had 4 students get murdered. The fact that within all of that chaos, with the FBI, with all the detectives, with Scott Green and his people meeting, they don't have time for a press conference, but they have time to put out a drop-in counseling sign, is my point. So like UFO Doc said, that could just be something that they had set up in general. I know. And that's what I was saying earlier with the last comment that I had up. This goes back to something that I had a slight crash out about. I don't even know if you would consider it a crash out, but I just said, how many of those things do we just give a pass to though? And if it's not weird, it's not weird. But how many of those things are like, oh, that could just normally happen? And it just feels like so much weird stuff has been written off as, that could just normally happen when there's countless of them. So anyways, that's why I wanted to show this. I wanted to kind of get a temperature check on this and see if anybody else thought that. Just reading the comments here. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. It's, kids are about to go home for Thanksgiving. Heiny Titty says, no, I think it's strange too, Birdie, considering it was after a murder. So just so everybody knows too, this original photo, I edit these Hive Mind finds. So I have the original photo and then I zoomed in on it and I made the arrow and I put that. So the original photo is just a normal picture on an iPhone of just this sign. Right. And it's not even, yeah, you guys get my point. Okay. So we can move on. Just wanted to get that on people's radar. Like I said, get a temperature check on it. Okay. This next one comes from 3Shay3. And this has to do with the debris that was found in both Ethan and Xana's hand. Ethan's right hand, Xana's left hand, item 3 and item 8. The results of this examination, I'll just go ahead and read this highlighted part here. Let me just go ahead and do this. All right. Items submitted from Ethan Chapin, items 3, 12, 13, 31 through 33 and 52. Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, and from 1122 King Road were examined. All those item numbers were examined for hairs microscopically consistent with hairs in the head hair sample from Brian Christopher Koberger, being item 45. However, none were found. Animal hairs consistent with dog hairs found in item 61 are microscopically dissimilar to hairs in the dog hair sample from Murphy. Accordingly, Murphy cannot be included as a possible source of these hairs. There were items submitted from Koberger's apartment that were examined for hairs microscopically consistent with hairs in the head hair samples from Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, and Maddie. None were found. An animal hair consistent with cat hair found at item 26 is of limited value for meaningful microscopic comparison purposes and has been preserved for possible future comparisons. Additional debris collected from items 3, 12, 13, 15 through 20, 30 through 43, and 47 through 61 has been preserved for possible future comparisons. The specimens were examined using stereo microscopy and comparison microscopy where appropriate. Now, what are all of your thoughts on the animal hair? Both the cat hair that they said was of limited value for the meaningful comparison, and then also the dog hair. And I just saw Love Another Habit said, but the caller was giving backhanded compliments. Can we discuss? What is it about? Was it about this caller? Hottie JG? Because I was trying to just make out whatever word I could. I don't think English was their first language. I did catch a few where I thought to myself, did I just catch a stray there? But I was just trying to focus on what they were saying. That's what I thought, Charlie from Oz, was so someone has a dog that is not Murphy. One can Leanne said, I'm sure they would have tested against Koberger's dog. God, my freaking throat. It's Psycho Fool 8423 said they did say there was a canine just not listed as working that night. True. Polar Life Force said animal hair, especially dog and cat hair, gets on everything. That was kind of my thought was, you could, even if it's from one of the victims, you could have just been at anybody's house that had a dog or a cat. And I've had it before where I've gone over to some of my buddies' house, or even, when we go up to our cabin, if our friends have dogs, we tell them to bring up their dogs. They can play in the lake. And no matter how conscious we are of trying to keep the dogs out of the cabin, my mom's super allergic to dogs. Somehow dog hair will get in there. And then, our dog is black and white, and I'll have like a brown hair on me, a gold hair on me at times. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? It's probably just floating around in the air. So who knows? How about the guy who was walking his dog outside King Road? I just think that, that's a good point. Don't get me wrong. I mean, did he go over and check if that 4chan rumor about the unconscious person call came in because they thought it was an unconscious partier, pass out partier? There are things like this that, while don't get me wrong, they are important. It's like very broad. If you're really trying to figure it out, you test it against Murphy's hair, so it's not Murphy's hair. Well, then you would probably, is that worth it to test it against people of interest? Because that dog hair could have gotten there for whatever reason, whenever. I just don't feel like that would be evidence that would be hard to discredit in court. Marin Fawcett, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Charlie from Oz said, I deliver for Uber Eats and I end with hair from 5 to 6 dogs on me at any given time, and I don't have pets. Chaos and Christina said, I agree with you, Birdie. That's where my head went immediately. Sleuthard Air said, all of the frat and sorority houses have pets. Sammy said, can we talk about how odd it is that BF and DM were talking about Xana wearing all black and Xana's black sweatshirt and jeans she was pictured in that night were in the spare bedroom? Yes, we will be getting to that. I have some of the documents already open in another tab. So I got 2 more Hive Mind finds, and then that's what we're going to be diving into. So thank you to 3 Shay 3 for this. This one comes from COS or COS 8619. And this is the author's expert opinion. Thomas J. Slavinsky doing the cell phone data, cellular forensics report. And it says this analyst has exhaustively examined the AT&T call data or call detail records pertaining to the mobile number ending in 8458, which would be Brian Koberger's, as well as other cell tower data pertaining to the victims and the other persons. The expert opinion of this analyst is as follows. There is no cell tower data presented by law enforcement to the defense that links the 8458 device to the King Road murders. And so you can tell that I obviously was showing that clip earlier from LTL because I knew about this Hive Mind find and also the question of the day. What this analyst has noted is a profound push by law enforcement to use these call detail records to paint a story that the data cannot support or prove. There is no cell tower or GPS data presented to support the claim that Brian Koberger's device was at 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022 from approximately 3 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. What is disturbing is the lack of actual data that was not made discoverable by law enforcement. This data would be extremely helpful to the defendant's case. There may have been numerous omissions by the FBI cast agent. This is disturbing. The data that was not shown is very exculpatory, and it appears that it was clearly and intentionally left out of the cast final report and other members of the law enforcement team. Every time that I read a report and I look at how it's written, where it says something was purposefully left out or purposefully omitted, I cannot help but go back to one of my theories about the sting on King. Okay. We keep saying, how is it that this is that bad? I mean, at a certain point, if there's a parallel investigation going on, is this meant to do exactly what it's doing? I don't think that we've really talked about that enough as far as from a law enforcement standpoint. Because how does an area in the Northwest, that Pacific Northwest Highway, the Moscow, Lewiston, Boise, whether it's from Canada or whether it's from the southern border, how does an area ever get that out of control unless there is some sort of cooperation with these organized crime or criminal gangs? If there's not some sort of cooperation from law enforcement or prosecutors. And so every time I see this wording, because Ann Taylor will do it too, specifically this last part, right after it very directly and crystal clearly lays out that there is no cell tower or GPS data presented to support the claim that Brian Koberger's device was at King Road on November 13th from 3 to 4:30 in the morning. What is disturbing is the lack of actual data that was not made discoverable by law enforcement. That data would have been extremely helpful to the defendant's case. And then this part, there have been numerous omissions by the FBI cast agent. This is disturbing. The data that was not shown is very exculpatory, and it appears that it was clearly and intentionally left out of the cast final report. Because this has happened so many times with no repercussion. At a certain point, there has to be and this is my opinion. I don't know if people have thought about this, but if you were a police chief or if you're a mayor, This is turning into the worst possible situation. There's been no PR management. They're just letting it go crazy. There's been no accountability. Instead, people fail upwards. They're giving awards, they're giving out coins. And there are experts, whether it's for the defense or not, there are people who are clearly capable of diving into data, the actual data, looking at the actual data, and saying this is disturbing. And so when I say that it's a PR nightmare, yes, of course, obviously, this case blowing up in a small town for the University of Idaho, where Brian Koberger is accused and now pled to these crimes to avoid the death penalty, that in itself is a PR nightmare. But to add insult to injury, all the documents getting released in this slow drip, drip, drip flood kind of method, in a way, it's allowed us to look into it, digest it, and really see just how bad this investigation was done. Or it's like this is staring you in the face, and you still do the opposite. It's like from Dumb and Dumber 2, where they get on the bus of, or Dumb and Dumber, where they get on the bus of all the cheerleaders or gymnasts, all the sexy girls. And he's like, what my friend meant to say was that the town is 2 hours that way, or whatever the quote is. It almost feels like they're looking at this evidence and they have this obvious, just exculpatory evidence that they're looking at it. They have to know it too. Maybe that was a bad analogy, but if you've seen the movie, you get my point. Give me 1 second. I got to untwist this cord. It's driving me crazy. Oh, yeah, that's right. But the Bluetooth handshake. Crazy Bird Lady, great question. Said, at what point is the massive incompetence evidence of intentional cover up? I mean, come on. I believe that it's past just massive incompetence. It is for sure an intentional cover up. But what leads me to believe that it's even past intentional cover up is the lack of repercussions. Even if it's just in the media, repercussions, even if it's just a defense attorney calling it out to the public, there's been not even public repercussions, yet alone legal. So that's what's always made my spidey senses go off a little bit. This instinct this intuition that I have. I don't care who you are or what job you're doing. You can't be this incompetent. And then if you're doing it that badly on purpose and nobody calls you out, especially when you have people's lives on the line, then it's just DEFCON 5 red flags everywhere as to there's got to be a reason. Yeah, they got awards, big awards, Secret Service Distinguished Honor awards for going through this data. Riley said, if this is somehow just massive incompetence, it's to the level that it's criminal. But I think it's more than that regardless. Don't drink chunky milk. I see what you did there. Just kind of skimming over the comment here before I read it. Said, you have to prove it was done with forethought and malice. Can't prosecute. Quote, they were never taught that. We don't do that here. Well, that's true. But again, then the PR thing. Where is Chief Fry, or where is somebody on behalf of the Moscow Police Department and all the other investigators that said we didn't do this right and we owe the public an apology? Shawley, Mr. Shawley redacted. Right. That's true, Terry Dodd, too. It's also to segue off what Don't Drink Chunky Milk just said. it's so blatant though. It does seem like basic 101 fails, even just to what I believe it was Izzy Pop had called in last night. Phenomenal call, bringing up that she used to do autopsies and said it's an unconscious person. You would think the EMS folks would be there, or they would be sent, and then the police would be called. So thank you to COS 8619 or COS 8619 for the submission of this. And now we have Sleuth or Dare for a Hive Mind find. And this one is interesting. We have Dylan's phone records, and you look to where the arrows are pointing and what's highlighted. We have Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana that calls are being made from Dylan to, and they're answered. Ethan's was using a third-party application such as Snapchat or FaceTime potentially. 13 seconds was that call duration, answered at 4:24 and 39 seconds in the morning. Kaylee, it was a phone call that was answered at 4:27 and 47 seconds in the morning. Sorry, not from Dylan, Bethany. Thank you. And Xana, that was answered at 4:28 and 44 seconds in the morning. So thank you for that. If I said Dylan, I meant Bethany. This is very interesting. Now, one might say, well, what if they all went to voicemail? Okay, well, we have comparative data, I guess you could say, here between Xana and Kaylee. If it went to voicemail, I don't know about you all, but a 4-second voicemail, 7-second voicemail, 13 seconds if it's Snapchat missed, which I don't even think has voicemail. So this is Dylan's. Now I'm confused, Sleuth. Jeez. Either way, the call status being answered is very strange. I'm working on a theory, and you guys know how I try to do this like once a month, where I'll put together like a mini series of like 2 or 3 streams that I'll string together where I lay out a theory. And something that has recently clicked was that Dylan, and let me back up and explain how I got to this point. Okay. And so one of the things about Saturdays with these chats, like I said, they're a little bit slower and I could read them. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because what I'm working on is because I had Jeff Jellison on the stream and I knew he was coming on the stream on Thursday. Really, since these documents have been dropped, I only had last night and right now, and I have the rest of today and tomorrow to dive through them. So I would watch or listen to Lana or Pav, or I kind of have like 3 or 4 people that I'll circle through as I'm driving when I have time. So anyways, Pav a while ago had talked about Quinn Kelly and how Dylan admitted that she talked to Quinn. It's probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It was before these doc drops, I believe. And he interpreted it as knowledge beforehand. But I'm interpreting it as something was going on. And if you haven't seen the video or the interview, if you remember, Dylan is explaining that she did talk with Quinn Kelly. And when I said a while ago, Amber Vance was on the stream, she had talked about it, that she did talk with Quinn. Quinn had essentially told her, just say it's a party house and people might be drunk and essentially stumbling through the house. Now, when you look at the series of events between Eric Gower dropping the girls off, audio on the camera that we can hear from Linda Lane of what sounds to be screaming, yelling, and Dylan and Quinn chatting. Quinn telling Dylan to say it's a party house, just say, or maybe it was just drunk people. But then Dylan's texting Eric to see if he's still driving. And so in my head, I started thinking, okay, was Dylan trying to get out of there? And was she kind of talked off the ledge? And then this happens, I'm sure, to many people, not just me. And then I started thinking, well, what are the odds that Dylan's texting Gower if he's still driving? Xana's ordering DoorDash at the same time. I know that that's been brought up. And I kind of started to think about, was that first interaction potentially them just getting essentially warned? Okay, we've talked about two separate events, and I've always said, I wonder if there was an escalating event, and we've theorized on what those could be, and then did the murderers come back later? Because the dancing in the living room with the dog at 4:30 doesn't make sense. But dancing in the living room with the dog when you just got home from the grub truck after the corner club does make sense. And so if there was like somebody outside of King Road when they got home, and that's what you kind of hear the yelling, and it's kind of just this shit talk fest or this verbal threats, maybe, again, just hear me out. Those people leave. Do they go inside? Does Kaylee turn on music, start dancing with the dog? Maybe they are talking about getting food. Maybe Xana and Ethan are already home. She orders DoorDash at that point, because the last confirmed sighting of Xana was 2 a.m. by somebody with a photo when she had left Sigma Chi. I'm forgetting that girl's name now in one of the interviews. And I go back to Dylan and Quinn. If Quinn's telling Dylan that, oh, it's probably just a drunk person walking through. Well, if Dylan and Lakeland and Bethany are all home, did one of the perpetrators walk through the house before Kaylee and Maddie got home? And is that why Dylan is potentially texting Quinn saying, I just saw somebody? And why she's maybe texting Gower, he's still driving? Maybe to get out of there. I don't know. But I'm just trying to think through, how do these things line up if there's not so much emphasis put on necessarily when they happened? And just for a second, not even saying that it happened at a different time, but trying to think through these statements and what's in the documents in a way that would make sense. Sense. So, for example, like I had just brought up, what do you believe would make more sense? Kaylee playing music and dancing in the living room with Murphy at 4:30 after already being home and people already getting ready for bed, to just be dancing in the living room, playing music at 4:30. I understand people will run to the reasoning of, well, I mean, everybody's been drunk and play with a dog. Yes, but it would make a lot more sense, or I should ask, would you agree it would make a lot more sense if that would be happening right after you get home from the bars? Yes or no? At least on that part. And I know that I was kind of just staring into the abyss trying to get that theory out, but that's essentially what this week is going to be about. So I just kind of wanted to float that out there, let you all know as far as what I'm working on, because I have to go and get a bunch of screenshots of the documents. Accomplished Day, thank you for the super chat, said, I think when she's talking to Quinn in the 4 a.m. hour, he is the unknown person she calls at 4:27, and she sends 3 Snapchat messages between 4:24 and 4:27, and I think that's what those outgoing messages were. Yeah, Accomplished Day, you and I should connect. You're in our Discord. You and I should find some time to connect on a Discord call where maybe I can show you some of the slides and the progression that I have, because I used your timeline a lot for this theory. But again, that's like a 2% out of 100% what to expect as far as where I'm going with that. Again, just kind of spitball and thinking out loud. Yes, will do. Okay, thank you. Crazy Bird Lady going back to that said, yes, especially with as drunk as Maddie was. I don't see them staying away for hours later. True. Philly Girl said, nope, not at 4:30. Splendid Melancholy agreed, said, yep. One Can Leanne said, totally agree. Sammy, I'm glad you brought this up, said, in Lakeland's interview, when it was only supposed to be just Lakeland and Dylan at King Road, Lakeland had said, quote, they wanted me to stay. That's right. The other thing too, which, so one of the things that I know people have leaned on a lot has been Dylan saying that she heard the dog barking at 4:17, and that's the only time that the dog's barking. So Dylan has been really adamant about the dog barking so that it must correlate with that, because the audio, that's the only time you hear a dog barking. The counter to that, I think you could make a really good argument for, okay, that's fine, but it's not the only time that you hear screams. So given what happened in the house, are you going to say, or when I say are you, I'm thinking out loud. I'm not speaking to anybody specifically, but it's like, would you say that it's more likely or less likely that the screams are coming from different people throughout the night, and that it's for sure Murphy barking at 4:17? That's for sure. But all those different screams, that's not the people that were murdered. When we know that there are other dogs in the house. So you can apply that same argument to the dog barking. We know that there's other dogs in that area that could bark, just like the way that a lot of the screams are discounted. You could say, well, there's a lot of college kids in the area. That's just party noises. And you could write it off to it being that, is my point. You could say it's a different dog, just like you could say it's different people. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Yeah, Sleuth, let's do that. That's a good idea. So thank you to everybody who did submit the high mind finds. We're already through the first hour. Time really does fly when you're looking at a ton of corruption. I feel like that would have been funnier than I had. Could have been more creative with that. Time really does fly when, finish that sentence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ViewSync. You guys know I love that website. Time is a construct. That it is. When you're doing a puzzle. All right, so 424 on 112. Let me go ahead and just find that. Just give me a second, Hive. I got to get these links posted into ViewSync, so that'll allow us to view all the angles at one time. Also, did Jeff H take down my favorite audio? Seems like he did. All right, I got one of the 3 videos I'm going to put up there. He took them all down? Just starting to like that guy. All right, here's the last one. Let me just sync the audios. Again, for people that don't know about this site and you want to watch multiple angles at once, I would highly recommend trying out ViewSync. All you got to do is just copy and paste a YouTube or URL, click test audio, and then it will sync all of them together. It'll give you a link down here that you just copy and paste into a new tab. And then you end up with this, which is super helpful. And then I'll just get myself in this other screen here. And so Sleuth said 424. We'll go from 15. We'll go 420 all around. Four 1950, 4 1953, 4 1947. Okay. Just give me a second to get them all perfectly synced. There we go. See, there's moments too where you hear, like, we've watched this footage enough, and there's moments where it sounds like you hear a car approaching and you don't see anything, but the dog starts barking. Right. Okay. So Trilly Fly just said, "Where's the car?" Thank you. Thank you. Yes, exactly. The other thing that's very strange to me is we've seen how close from other people walking around, which, by the way, Erin, the gal that was out in Moscow, that was moving with her husband across the country, that was going to try to go live with us from Moscow. She's got a ton of video and a ton of pictures, and we're shooting for a night next week. We got to get that dialed in still. She's got a ton of video and a ton of pictures, and I'm going to have her on stream going over these photos and going over these videos. But I bring that up, which is going to be awesome. I bring that up because the dog bark is louder than an engine that hasn't been started in how many hours of footage in the cold on the Linda Lane camera. It could be nothing, but to me, I'm just like, that dog bark is so loud. It's so loud that it makes the camera, like, speakers sound blown out. But that car sounds perfectly normal. Now, it could be different makes and models of the camera, yes, but we've at times heard that Linda Lane camera have stuff on it be very loud. The car sounds somewhat normal. The dog bark sounds very loud. It's so weird. I know you guys can't see it with my cursor here. It's so weird how many different flashes you see in that top window as the car apparently had already come down the hill. So I'm going to go back 10 seconds. Actually, I'm going to go back to 20. So I'm at 24:19. Let me just go back 20 seconds. And I'll go back 20 seconds. Okay, I want you to watch the upper window across the street, and it just looks like there's so many flashes. Like a headlight at the same spot that it would be when you're over by the parking lot over on this angle. You see like 3 up here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That whole audio sounds different. And there was a thud too. You hear that same like kind of noise. You hear that same noise at the 11 p.m. hour too. And the only crappy thing about ViewSync is you can't go back on all three of the cameras at once. So I'm going to go back 10 seconds on each of these. I'm at 2001. I'll go to 51. I want you to listen closely. You'll know what I'm talking about. And actually, I might just pull it up. 2704 would be 2654. Okay. So check this out. If I go to the is it the 11? Here we go. I want everybody to listen very closely. Okay. Somebody is talking on speakerphone. Okay. And this is right after you hear the sirens. They're walking away. They're clearly close to this camera. They're on speakerphone, and you hear somebody say, "What happened?" And then you hear the person that's walking say, "I don't know." Okay. So I'm not going to talk. I'm going to rewind this. Okay. Turn your volume all the way up. We're going to watch this for a minute or two. Okay. Don't expect me to talk. I'm going to do my best to not. I'm going to mute myself. Okay, warning for volume. So, anyways, you hear some stuff that just sounds like you're hearing everybody's names, and then I'm going to go back to this. And it doesn't sound like any like what we just listened to sounds way more like something's happening. Let's not forget too that Eric Gower said that when he dropped the girls off, he had already saw a black SUV sticking out. There's 4 cars in the driveway, and a black SUV sticking out, and a silver car parked on the side of the road. I will damn near die on that hill. That is not a gas sport car. I know that people have said it's Hunter pulling up in the Ford Explorer, but Eric Gower said, no, sticking out, not staking out. Sorry. That he had seen a black SUV sticking out. And I don't remember the report, but it's from Eric Gower's interview, I think, with Gunderson. So again, how is a dog bark overpowering the sound of that car on all 3 cameras? All 3 cameras' audios are on, and a dog bark that the dog's been barking now for 20 minutes is overpowering the sound of a car that is loud, a diesel engine on all three cameras. Like, those are the things that if nobody else will talk about, like, we'll talk about them in here. That doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry if people don't want to take that as somebody, or if people don't want to take that as quote unquote evidence. Okay, fine. Call it something else. But it matters. A lot of the stuff that we talk about in here, you're not going to find in the documents, but it matters because we can see it and we can look at it. And I guarantee you that if my name was whatever, give me a different name, and I was an expert in audio and acoustics, and I said it, guess what? Everybody would believe it because it's an expert saying it. But it doesn't take an expert to question very simple things, that a dog barking at a rapid pace for that long overpowers the sound of what is a diesel engine, in my opinion. But it doesn't even matter if it's diesel or if it's gas. It's overpowering that easily. I got it pulled up. You can almost hear two barking. Hear that? Megan, welcome to Hive Plus. And just so Mr. Shawley doesn't lose their mind, I got this pulled up. Again, guys, if you're not in our Discord, I would recommend you join it because we got this Hive Mind Find section. So all the stuff that I show on stream is posted in here. And I got to mute this. I don't know what kind of audio that is. How do I? Shoot. Why isn't it working? What are we looking at? That's did I miss something? 1, 2. Yeah, the whole street lights up. That happens like only one other time too. Those are very bright headlights. Somebody said they thought I froze. I'm going to bed. My bad. No, you're good, bro. All right. So thank you, Sleuth, for that recommendation. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to do was talk about the crime scene reconstruction. Okay. Now, very obvious. From everything that we're looking at here, what it is thus far. But I found this very interesting. So that's just going over the general layout of the house, what the dimensions are. I want to know why this is redacted. Why is the 3D documentation of the residence redacted? The 3D documentation of the residence at 1122 King showing the 4 deceased victims. Each deceased person's location in the house was represented by a different colored mannequin placed in the approximate location where they were found. The dashed line represents the perimeter of the top third floor. So if it's a mannequin and it's just placed, why does it matter? If this is just a recreation, why can we not see where the victims are found? Somebody explain that to me. And now they'll show us just the third floor. So this is literally all that they were going to show us, guys. That's all they were going to show us. And it has to be this. It has to be different. Why else wouldn't they show us that? At this point, I mean, seriously, they have had years, whether it's the real event or the real location. It has to be different. Otherwise, I don't understand it at all. So now what's very interesting too, and this is just me kind of thinking out loud here. Okay, so if they're doing the 3D documentation right here, figure 3 says the 3D documentation, I just read this, but just to reemphasize this, the 3D documentation of the residence at King Road showing the 4 deceased victims. Each deceased person's location in the house was represented by different colored mannequins placed in the approximate location where they were found. The dashed line represents the perimeter of the top floor. And then they show us the top floor. The 3D documentation of the residence at 1122 King Road showing the top floor. Is there a mannequin in this top floor? Am I totally misunderstanding that? Because if that says that the dashed line that we see is where the third floor would start, here's the dashed line. Here's the third floor. Second floor, third floor, nothing on the first floor. But I don't understand why they wouldn't include the mannequins on this. They have Murphy. I wish that maybe I'm not saying that right, but it just doesn't make sense to me that they would show Murphy so this is what I mean is they're showing Murphy in this view. Top down view. And they're showing Murphy only in that one. So why would Murphy be in this one? Because at first I thought, oh, well, they're going to go to the second floor, but it seems as if figure 3A is having to do with figure 3. So if figure 3 doesn't include the third floor and figure 3A is the third floor, and then you get down here and this is figure 3B, those figures 3B, 3A, and figure 3 are all depicting different things. And the third floor is shown here. Son of a bitch. I know I'm not explaining what I'm thinking in my head the right way. I'm just saying, could a reason be that it's redacted up here and saying that the dashed line represents the perimeter of the top floor? We don't know if it's showing the top floor of this. It's redacted, but it does show this as if it's the second floor redacted, and then they leave the third floor unredacted, and no mannequins are here. And then when they start showing the top view, they have Murphy in the bed. I'll have to dive into that more. What's up, Karma's Rain? I'm just kind of skimming through this. It's a 134-page report. This is the third floor Mogan bedroom. The original scene. The original scene image. It feels weird to use. Guys, I don't even care at this point. I feel like we could be skeptical of everything to an extent. And using the word original scene. Isn't there only one scene? So what does original mean? Well, obviously the bodies are in it. Yeah, that's how it's found. Like, it just feels like a weird way to depict it or describe it. Oops, that's the wrong one. Don't Drink Chunky Milk said it's redacted because it's stills from the Dateline video. It's never a leak. They use them to cement their timeline to the masses, ensuring no chance at fair trial, unbiased jury. Interesting. Yeah, initial would have been better. First photos with the bodies in the room. It's talking about the blood stains there. We obviously have been told this. Kaylee was located on the north side of the third floor bed where she was found next to Madison Mogan. 3 large saturation stains were on the pillow adjacent to Goncalves to her north, spatter on the north wall, describing the photos that we've seen. K-bar knife sheath was partially covered and tucked under the folded comforter near her left hip. Talking about the blood transfer on the door. This area represents one or more direct contacts of a bloody source to the door edge. Area BK on the west closet wall represents where an object with wet blood was swung through a location farther west than the edge of the closet wall. Has anybody seen this before? I mean, if you've looked through it, you've seen it, but I didn't notice this before. Area BK. The west closet wall represents where an object with wet blood was swung through a location farther west than the edge of the closest wall. I mean, you would think that area X and sample 48 X would correlate to Xana. Maybe, maybe not. Actually, never mind. Forget that I just said that. I just thought because of the BK and the X before reading. Whoops. Shouldn't talk before I finish reading. So area X and sample 48 on the edge of the door to the bedroom area. The upper stain 48 was a transfer created from a source with wet with blood from Goncalves. The lower stain X was a transfer created from a source wet with blood from Goncalves and Mogan. It won't even show us the sheath. So I had screenshotted that and I just typed it into ChatGPT and I said depict what it would mean by area BK on the west closet wall represents where an object wet with blood was swung and hit it. It just showed me this. This is not anything. I didn't put any Idaho 4 pictures in, nothing. I was just trying to have it visualize so we can mentally apply it to where it would be in the Idaho 4. So this is not an Idaho 4 photo. Okay. I just want to make sure I make that disclaimer. That's interesting. So this is a 3D view. Figure 8 is a 3D view onto the stairs between the second and third floor towards the south end of the house. Minor transfers of the blood were identified along this route. Small spatter stains were documented above the third floor bathroom door. Just ridiculous with the black boxes. So this would have been a 3D model showing Dylan's route to Funk's room. I'm just going to try something here. This could be completely stupid. It probably is, but talking about that diluted blood stain. I mean, okay, here we go. Here's some unredacted photos. An irregularly shaped diluted stain on the surface of the table, placard 39, is consistent with a diluted blood stain arriving from the south to land on the surface of the table. Discolored areas around the single diluted deposit on a potato chip bag near the table and other individual drops. Okay, so is this the original position of the beer pong table then? Okay, could this be the original position of the beer pong? Because if blood's on the chips right here, listen how this is worded. An irregularly shaped diluted stain on the surface of the table, placard 39, is consistent with a diluted blood stain arriving from the south to land on the surface of the table. Discolored areas around this single diluted deposit on a potato chip bag near the table, and other individual drops on the table surface were not specifically tested. The significance, if any, of the stains surrounding sample 39 is unknown. Of course it is. Unlike the areas of dilute stains that were tested and found to contain DNA from both Goncalves and Mogan, bloodstain 39 was reported to be a single source sample matching Goncalves. But doesn't this make sense? Like the direction of the arrows, it would hit the bag here because blood was found on the chip bag. And they have a photo of it. Here's a zoomed in version of it that I had shown. So I don't know. Himalayan salt chips do sound good though. Okay, this is interesting. Various diluted blood stains documented in the living room. This just seems like a very ineffective 3D model. Like, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm really not trying to be a hater, but it just seems like photos would do just as good of a job as this 3D model, unless this 3D model has certain capabilities that we haven't seen or what they could potentially use it for to maybe create that dollhouse, whatever their purpose was of it. But it seems very crappy compared to diluted blood was deposited in at least 3 areas inside Kernodle's bedroom. That's interesting. And sorry, I'm kind of being quiet, Hive. I'm trying to read, and I mean, this is a very good image of what the diluted blood stains above Chapin's head would have looked like. That's it's a very clear picture. At least 2 defects were visually consistent with stab slits that were present on the northwest corner of the bed. This represents where an object was stabbed into the bed. So they missed and they got the mattress instead. Partial footwear impressions, different in appearance to the footwear impression near Mortenson's door, were developed by the ISPFS laboratory processing in this area. So after a complicated collection of drips, swipes, wipes, and overlapping altered bloodstains was present on the floor central to this bedroom, these deposits collectively represent where objects wet with blood were swiping or wiping across the floor, representing motion through blood in this area. The partial footwear impressions are different than those by Dylan's door. That was, excuse me, that was kind of pointed out a couple of weeks ago, I think, with Bellamicia saying that the photo looked different, and many other people have said that about the footwear imprint by Xana as well. A top view in the 3D environment showing the movement supported by the bloodstain patterns low in this bedroom. I'm trying to go and skim as I also just try to find photos we can actually stare at. So they looked for potential DNA transfers in Koberger's car in at least 55 locations, collection of items in the vehicle such as floor mats, seatbelts, series of vacuum filtration samples for the collection of trace evidence and the use of luminol, and did not develop any connections through these techniques. Hairs were removed from the vacuum filtration systems directly compared to the samples from the victims and the victim's surviving dog. All negative. They searched 51 positions in his apartment for indications of blood, with Only 4 of these indicating presumptive positive for the presence of the presence of blood, none of which connected to the victims. And all 4 were known to be consistent with Koberger's own DNA. This is insanity. Let's now see where they all checked Koberger's car for DNA and didn't find any. The Hyundai Elantra. You got to be kidding me. Left is an original image from the labeling and processing by Talbot showing the stain as 2 small drops. Right, the yellow sticker from the ISPFS laboratory processing documented the appearance when they examined the door days later. What? Hold on. Area 42 on the left side is the image so now we go again to the original. Notice how they say original. They said original photo of the scene. Right here they say the original image from labeling and processing by Detective Talbot showing the stain as 2 small drops. Bam, you see them right here. And then on the right by the yellow sticker from when the ISPFS laboratory processed it, documented the appearance when they examined the door days later. Where are they? Oh, I'm sure that somebody just bumped into it. That happens all the time. They just wiped it off. Stop thinking everything's a conspiracy. No. And then again, that language of original. This is correcting Sutton's report that it was Xana. There's no data to suggest that Xana was injured at or near the table. All right. As occurred with the stain on the 3rd floor door, this stain was also diluted through the collection process after it had been documented. The original deposit was not diluted and therefore does not fit with a source from any mouth or nose injury to Kernodle. The dilution of the stain is an artificial remnant of sampling. So, see, is that just another temporary bombshell? I wish I would have worded it like that. Did those disappear because after? Yes. Okay. So that makes sense. Well, the temporary bombshells are interesting, aren't they? Until they're not. So the went away from sampling them. Again, we learn as we go. We react in real time. But we try our best to correct that. Multiple stabbing and laceration wounds. Maddie and Kaylee. Is it me or can you kind of see? Can you kind of see through this redaction box? I wonder if I screenshotted this and told AI to recreate it. If this one, it could see through because you can kind of see through that. So we'll see what that comes up with. So these all must be before and after sampling then? I mean, this is going to go through every single one. A replica. Well, that's interesting. So that shows the size of the wounds after it was put into gelatin. And that just goes through their credentials. Angel Heart said, Birdie, good to see you. Did you get the video I sent you a few days ago? Maybe. I'll go check right now. What was the video of? Thank you for the super chat. Holy hell. Hang on, sorry. In the middle of this, I just saw Accomplished Days theory slides, guys. Okay, so Accomplished Day, I know what I'm doing when this stream gets done. I'm going to go through this, and then I'll be showing this on stream this week, if you're okay with that, Accomplished Day. Jesus! What the? I didn't think it was possible to be more impressed from your timeline, and then you drop this on us. So yeah, geez, I would love to. Okay, yeah, I would love to show this off. Okay, so let me make a note of that. And what did Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, Accomplished Day. And Angel Heart, what did you? It was the student in the tunnels. Oh, where he, I feel like I did go through this, and yes. Hang on. Let me just look at this quick. Yeah, I think it was that I couldn't open. Did you send the screen recording? And I'm sorry. Can you resend it to me, Angel Heart? It's just to prove they do go down there. Yeah, because we did watch somebody who made their way from one hall to the dorms that they were in. But yeah, Angel Heart, if you could please resend that, It's not downloading for me. Okay, thank you. And Hive, another great war room in the books, everybody. Thank you all so much. I really do enjoy these. Like I said, I love being able to read the chat, and I hope you all enjoy that. I will be back on Monday night, 7 p.m. Central. Check out the Jeff Jealous and Fox Hollow interview if you haven't. That'll be live today at 3 p.m. And then also, we have the theory slides to go over for Accomplished Day. I'll be posting a theory that I think, as far as in regards to Quinn and Dylan's communication. And there was one other thing I feel like I'm forgetting about this week. Huh. Well, it'll come to me. If I forgot, I will tell you all on Monday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Put your feet up, relax, try to maybe take a little mental break from the case if you can, if it's even possible to do at this point. And I will see you guys Monday. Cheers, everybody. Oh, jeez. Laura, you said giveaway. I forgot about the giveaway. Thank you. How did I forget about that? Hopefully people didn't leave. But if they did, my bad. I'm trying to think of a. All righty. Here we go, Hive. The hashtag is hashtag birdie. Hashtag birdie. I am collecting comments now. Hashtag fuck. No, hashtag birdie does not have to be in all caps. Thank you for that reminder. Jeez, that's one of the most fun parts about these war rooms. But I guess instead of starting the war room with it, we will end it. So, hashtag birdie. I'll let this go for a couple minutes. And Laura gets the GOAT award for that. Thank you for reminding me. I love seeing who wins these giveaways. Or Lori. Was it Lori or Laura? I saw some people notice too that one of my other jellyfish in the background died. Just kidding. It's a fake jellyfish. Felt too crowded in there. One of them stopped floating up and down. But I saw people notice that. I'm like, geez. Surprised people noticed that. My bad. No, you got to put hashtag redacted high knees, hashtag birdie. All righty. I'm going to go ahead and stop collecting. Let's see who wins. Crazy Bird Lady. Nice. Congratulations, Crazy Bird Lady. All you have to do is send Birdie's Hive Mind at gmail.com, and the mods or myself will get you a link, and you will be able to go pick out any piece of merch that you want from the Hive merch store. Again, something super cool about the merch store is a lot, if not all of the designs are made by either one of the mods or people from the Hive. So this shirt was made by Luna Bliss. She crushed it. I love this shirt. It's actually one of my favorite shirts. And on the back, it says it really big too. But yes, congratulations to Crazy Bird Lady. Appreciate you all. And I think that I got through all the super chats. Thank you to Lucid Dreaming and Shockface, Charlie from Oz, the UFO Dog, and Discord Dawn for gifting out some Hive Plus memberships. I have really enjoyed these Saturdays. As you guys know, I didn't really ever stream on Saturdays, or I started to not stream. And so I think this is a great thing to do for the Hive Plus folks. And I hope you all enjoy it. And like I said, congratulations, Crazy Bird Lady. Just send us an email, birdieshivemind@gmail.com. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you Monday. Cheers, everybody.